Have you had the chance to implement switch stacking yet? If not, you might be saying, what in the world is switch stacking? The only stacking I know about is cup stacking. It's that game where people stack cups for fun. Well, you know what? I can have some fun here too, and I can stack switches on top of each other. Take a whole bunch of switches and let's do some switch stacking. Well, no, it's not like that. But why might I want to do this? Why might I buy switches that allow me to implement StackWise technology and stack my switches? Well, before we cover switch stacking, let's analyze what happens if we don't implement switch stacking in our environment. So we don't implement switch stacking in our environment at the access layer. I have my access layer switches in my rack. And right now we only have 2 switches. But let's add 4 switches in the rack on floor 1 servicing my users. That's 4 different switches that I am going to have to manage. 4 different switches. That's a lot of management overhead. Because now if you multiply that on a floor-by-floor basis or department-by-department basis, because maybe I need 4 switches for one department to make sure I have enough ports to service that department. Well, that's a lot of management. A lot of overhead. A lot of management IP addresses. A lot of VLANs to keep track of. And so on and so forth. Also, I can't take full advantage of my bandwidth, can I? Every single one of those access layer switches are going to have dual connections to the distribution layer, but I can only use one of those links at any given time, can I? On a VLAN by VLAN basis. Because spanning tree protocol says, sorry, to prevent a loop, I need to block one of those links on a VLAN by VLAN basis. So what that means now is that even though I might potentially have 2 gigabits per second available between ASW1 and DSW1 and 2, well, since one port's being blocked, we only have 1 giga link that is available now. Understandable. It's just spanning tree protocol doing its job. And there's no direct communication between any access layer switch either here. But we can change all of that by implementing StackWise technology. So it's StackWise technology. We're going to take those switches in the rack and we're going to stack them together. And by stacking them together, we're going to reduce the management overhead. Why are we going to reduce the management overhead? We're reducing the management overhead because now we only have a single IP address to manage all the devices. That's right. Because when we stack them together, we are going to use special stack interconnect cables. Let's go back. Stack interconnect cables here. Notice how we have this loop formed between these 3 switches in the stack. Now, depending on the types of switches you have, you might only be allowed to have 4 switches in the stack. Or you might be able to have 9 switches in your stack. So for example, if you went to 3750Es or the 3850 models of Catalyst switches, you're going to get 9.